it's just so many things led up to it. So seeing Ravi, the change in him. So for me, when Ravi was going through a hard time, I thought it was a time where he would never fully come back from it. I remember taking him to A&E and they couldn't help him. Me and my family discussing what to do with him every single day, and we were all like, what can we do? I remember now, we all used to say, like, who can talk to him? Who can fix him? Who can help him? There must be someone who can do this. And it's like, when I spoke to Ravi when he got better, it was like he called out to Jesus, and he didn't just get better, he got better than the person he was before. So it's not just this moment of time in his life where bad things happened. It was even before that. He's just like a completely different person. And at that time I was talking to my other brother Sunil, and he was telling me about spiritual things that are happening, and I would listen, but I wouldn't really connect the dots. It was like half connected. So I was helping Sunil move house, and he had a little crucifix on his windowsill and some stones from Jerusalem. And this is the time Ravi was going through his difficult times, and I remember helping him move house, and I put this crucifix in my car and the stones, and I put one of the stones in my pocket, and I was still like, I'm not a Christian, I don't believe in this, and I was like, this is gonna help me. I was just doing these things. It was like I was physically doing these things, but my mind wasn't there. So Sunil stayed with me for a few days, and I kept the crucifix on my desk. And when he moved out, he was like, I need my stuff back. And I was like, I want to keep the crucifix. But I still wasn't questioning what I was saying or doing. And then I decided to go to church for Miranda, who said she'll be on the keys. And I didn't want to let her down. I said, I'll come and watch. So I'd already missed Anna's baptism because I didn't want to see Ravi, because I didn't believe that he was better yet. So so I missed I missed Anna's baptism. Then I finally seen Ravi, seen that he was better. We kind of managed to talk, and then Miranda told me she's going to church, she'll be on the keys at church. So I said, I'll come and watch. So I thought, I can't let her down. So I had to move people around at work. So I had a 2-hour gap, came into church, and then Rich said, this message has been delayed for 2 weeks. And that was when I was meant to be at Anna's baptism. And I was like, oh, okay. And now I've just recently found out that day that I was meant to come to church, when Rich tried to do the sermon, he could not speak. He couldn't do the message. So that just showed me even more that I was meant to be there at that time. And that's the day I put my hand up to say I'll follow Christ. It wasn't good and it wasn't bad, it was kind of neutral. It was just like, this is important to Sunil, let's go support him. But then as soon as I walked into that church, I felt this, literally I walked through the main doors and something just went, and I just wanted to cry. And I was just like, okay. And I hadn't even met anyone yet. It was just like, I literally walked in, Sunil started talking to his friend, and I was just looking around like, what is this feeling? I like it. And then I kind of put it down to, we've just come out of lockdown and I'm just around a lot of people since lockdown. But thinking back now, I was like, no, that wasn't it. So that happened. And then watching Sunil's baptism, I cried so much and I didn't even understand. No one had explained to me what a baptism is. I didn't know what it was about. It's like, oh yeah, this is just what Christians do. And I cried and I cried and I cried, like I was saying goodbye to Sunil. And then he told me after, he was like, I basically died. The old me died, and I was like, whatever. And then Rich's sermon, he was talking about how our whole family would get baptized, and I was just like, sure. I've now this year, last year, December, I got baptized with my husband on the same day. Woo! So before I started following Christ, I used to suffer from this weird anxiety. I would say I've got quite a good life. Like I'm grateful for everything I've got. So going to bed at night would always have this. I would always feel this dread of like things like waking up and hearing something that's bad happen to Carlito, my son, or Lawrence, my husband, my brothers, my sisters, my mum, my dad, someone. And it was this constant dread that I couldn't fully rest. And then after putting my hand up in church that day and deciding to follow in Christ, it was like 3 days later. So this anxiety lasted for years. And then 3 days after following Christ, about 3 days, I was like, wait a minute. Like, I've been sleeping like a baby. There's this dread, this anxiety is just literally just doesn't exist anymore. So for me, that was a big thing. Just feeling it internally, not just seeing other things. So like a big thing that brought me to Christ in the first place was seeing the change in other people like Ravi, and got me questioning and really like paying attention. But when I felt it in myself, it was like, okay, this is real. This is really, really real. So I told him that I've decided to follow Christ, and he was a bit concerned. He thought I was going a bit too fast. He thought I was just doing it to follow Ravi and Sunil. And I could feel that when I told him. And for a few days we got a little bit distant. Like our relationship is pretty close. We've been together 20 years. We're very close. But yeah, we got a little bit distant. We were still talking, but there was just this friction. And then a few days after that, I told him, a few weeks after that, I told him I decided to get baptized, and his response was like, why? I was like, because I want to. And then before I got baptized, so I was praying from day one for him to also follow Christ. And so a few weeks later, he came to church. He put his hand up. So then I was praying for us to get baptized together on the same day, and he was like, no, you're going too fast, there's not time, you're not ready. But we got baptized on the same day. But yeah, there was a lot of, not a lot of friction. There was something between us for a few days of, what's wrong with you, woman? And now he was like, once he put his hand up, he was saying to my brothers, like, I thought Satz was going too fast, but now I'm like, she's not going fast enough. So yeah, it's all good. So when I'm in church and I hear people say God spoke to them, I never know how to take it, like literally you heard a voice or just something moved you, or like it's probably different for everyone. But when I first decided to follow and I got my book of Psalms from church, I was reading it, and then I was reading a bit about the Ascension. And first it was like, before that I was reading the Bible and I was like, okay, just reading it like a story. And then when it came to the Ascension, I cried like I'd just lost a member of my family. And I said in my head, like, why are you leaving me? Like, why are you going? And I was literally blubbering like a baby. And I can't, because I was crying so much, I can't remember if I actually heard a voice or I just felt something, but it was like, I'm still here. And that just, my whole body just felt so much warmth and like love. And then Lawrence came home from work like, why are you crying so much? I was like, and obviously he wasn't following at that point. So like when you say things like this to a non-believer, you're like, you're gonna think I'm crazy. So I was just like, oh, it's nothing. But that moment for me was massive. It was just, I felt a huge connection